Most people, for example, like me, who are born with a disability are seen as curses to the family. Some are just killed right on the spot.
Husnah Kukundakwe's journey to this year's Paralympic Games began at the age of 5, when she began swimming in the Ugandan capital, Kampala. Growing up living with a disability, the young swimmer excelled in the pool, using her talent to gain confidence and combat discrimination.
Hey everyone, Jamie here. Welcome to Flame Bearers Unedited, a brand new series bringing to you largely unedited conversations. We heard you loud and clear. You want to hear more stories of more elite women athletes from around the world. So we're going to deliver. In Unedited, we're going to bring you completely unfiltered conversations. We hit start, we have our conversation, we hit end. What we're going to see, though, is slightly different because we're not going to have all the traditional bells and whistles that you're used to in Flame Bearers production. So let's jump in.
I'm Husnah Kukundakwe. I'm a 2-time Paralympian. I take part in paraswimming and currently I'm in Uganda, which is where I live.
And Husnah, how did you get into swimming?
Well, I started by playing around in the pool just like any other kid at the age of 3, and eventually I was introduced to competition. Then I discovered paraswimming on the way, got classified, and then before I knew it, I was at my first Paralympic Games, my first World Championships at the age of 12, Paralympics at the age of 14, and my second just recently this year.
What an incredible journey. I know it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows to get to the Paralympics, though. You've talked before about, your first swim meet that you were discriminated against. Share with us what you're comfortable sharing.
It was a fun day. It started out fun. I was hanging out with my friends. I was competing and having fun and loving swimming. But then I did my first race and I think I didn't do it as well as as the teacher who was coordinating the event thought. So when the next event came up and it was my turn to swim again, I was swapped for someone else because apparently the competition was high. But I guess in that situation, it didn't really matter about the kids' happiness. It was more the school has to win. So then I was swapped for someone else. And then before I knew it, I was just frustrated, leaving the place, and my dad just taking me home because I didn't want to be there anymore.
How did you refine joy in swimming then? So you're really frustrated with swimming at that point because you've been swapped out. How did it come back to being a source of joy and community for you?
Well, I did try other sports. I tried football, basketball, volleyball, netball, because that's what we usually do on Thursdays at school. Get in our sportswear and just try all the different sports that everyone was playing. And I actually did find interest in one sport, football. I loved watching football. Even now, I still love watching football. I love it as a sport. But I reached to a point where I would just play and run around the field when no one is passing to me the ball. So I also felt like I was being neglected in a way. So I was like, let me go to the post that no one else wants to be in, which is goalkeeper. Because no one else wanted to be the goalkeeper. So I went there and I was actually really, really good at it. So even my friends wanted me to be on their teams and I was actually having fun while doing it. But then the holidays came up, I wasn't playing football. I mean, I could play with my cousins, but every time we would go on fun trips and go swimming, I always felt like this was the place I was meant to be, the place I'm supposed to be. So eventually I realized, that I want to go back to swimming and I want to show that teacher from back then that I can do way better than she could have ever thought. And that's how I went back in.
Yes, I love that. So partially fueled by you trying to prove yourself to this person who doubted you.
Yes.
Wow.
And then 2 years later, I think it was 2 years, there was another school gala and I just swept all the medals. All the gold medals.
Was she there?
Yes,
there? Did she see
she was
this?
there. She was there, and so was the headmaster and the same girl that I was swapped with. I ended up beating her in that same race, and I guess that was the mission successful.
Okay, please tell me you said something or she said something to you or there was some sort of closure, or did we just let it go?
It was kind of a let it go kind of thing because we were friends. We were friends. Like it was just that situation that I didn't like. But when it came to the opportunity of me racing her, in that moment I was like, nah. I have to get this done today. We are friends in school, but right here, right now, I have to get this done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Husnah, thank you so much for sharing that. What a cool story also of it's a comeback in certain ways, though you were never, it's a different type of comeback story. So talk to us a little bit about para sports in Uganda. What is the para swimming scene like? I've never been to Uganda. I think probably a fair number of our listeners have not been. So help us understand.
Disability in Uganda, for one, is not seen as something that can be lived with. Most people, for example, like me, who are born with a disability, are seen as curses to the family. Some of them are abandoned and are left to fend for themselves in orphanages or even on the streets. So you may find that someone grew up without having an education and without having a way to earn a living for themselves, so they end up begging on the streets.
Absolutely. I've been following your career for a couple of years now, and I love how outspoken you are about how para swimming has influenced you and what disability is, what it's perceived as in Uganda. I think that I had never heard of the idea that it is what was the word you used? A
curse.
You said it's a curse. Yes,
Yeah.
I had never heard that before. And that really struck me.
It's very prominent in African culture. Because usually kids with disabilities are not often born. So when one is born, they're like, this is a curse upon the clan, it's a curse upon the whole family. This is some are just killed right on the spot. But then I'm fortunate to have a family that accepted me, that loved me, and raised me like any other kid. I have 4 siblings. I have 3 siblings.
So there's 4 of you.
Yeah, there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us. I have 3 brothers. I'm an only girl. That's already a privilege of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also a special kid in a way, but the way my mom raised all of us is exactly the same way. And same morals, same advice, because we're all just kids growing in this world, and our mom loves us so much that she wants us to achieve the best. So just that concept of disability, that the way disability is perceived in Uganda is already something that makes you feel pity for yourself and just give up entirely. And as for parasport, it's almost not there. At the time when I studied paraswimming, I discovered it at the age of 10 when my coach at the time was talking to my parents about a classification opportunity. So I asked my parents, what is classification? What is paraswimming? Then we go through YouTube together and I see all these amazing superstars who have disabilities even worse than mine. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys are really, really fast and I didn't even know this existed. This can be an amazing opportunity for someone like me to even thrive way bigger than I would have ever thought. At the time, of course, I was just looking at it like, there's no way this is actually happening. I'm actually going to go compete with people like me and actually get classified and actually become an international paraswimmer, because I looked on YouTube and watched the previous Paralympic Games, 2016 and the 2016 Rio Paralympics, and I saw Sophie Pascoe, Ellen Keane, Ellie Cole, and I'm thinking to myself, Ellen Keane has almost the exact same disability as me. I'm definitely going to look into her more, because I had no idea what paraswimming was. I knew what swimming was. I knew Michael Phelps, Ryan Lochte, Katie Ledecky, those ones everyone knew. Even when I was watching the Rio Olympics, those ones I watched, but I never knew there was the Paralympics until then. So that's something that's very much lacking in Uganda, just the awareness of parasport. And slowly, actually gradually, in the past 5 years that I've been doing paraswimming, I've been able to expose lots of Uganda to it. And I think there's been lots of change, especially towards the perception of people with disabilities, and hopefully more and more in the future, it can even get way better. And compared to the last Paralympic Games we went for, it was a team of 4. So hopefully in LA, it's going to be a much bigger team.
Wow, that is so cool on so many fronts. I have goosebumps just hearing you share that. I think this is a perfect example where social media and YouTube has actually been beneficial. People are very quick to point out the negative sides to social media, and that is absolutely true. I think this is a perfect example where it was able to provide you a sense of something that you couldn't do. You didn't think was existing before. So that's wonderful that you were able to see these role models, these athletes competing at the highest level and say, hey, if they're doing it, I can do it too.
Yeah, not even just if they did, I can do it too. It was more like, I'm swimming in Uganda, but I know I'm not going far because I'm swimming against people with 2 hands. But now I know if I'm going to compete with people with similar disabilities like mine, I'm definitely going to go far and achieve much, much greater compared to what I would achieve competing with able-bodied swimmers. It actually came with lots of confidence as well, because I was always wearing a sweater. I was always trying to hide my hand when I was around huge groups of people. But when I started swimming and started like wearing a costume, and you kind of have to take off your clothes whether you like it or not, and you're exposed, you kind of get used to that environment. So it became I had my confidence as an individual, but was I confident in my swimming? I would find myself swimming a heat, for example. And I may have been in a slow heat and I would win in my heat, but I wouldn't get a medal. That's where it's like, am I really going anywhere with this? What am I doing? What's not happening?
Important distinction. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah.
Because I started to feel like I'm not really going anywhere with my swimming here in Uganda. So when I started doing para-swimming, I realized that the competitions that I do here are going to help me work even twice as harder for the competitions that I have internationally. Because even every time I was at a competition, my mom would remind me, you may have come like 10th here, but trust me, if you keep up that pace and you can even be 5th at the world stage. So think about it like that, and eventually, even now in Uganda, I actually rank, while I'm disabled, I kind of rank around top 5 nationally. So it's already amazing, just even when I'm disabled.
So just to repeat that, you rank top 5 out of all female athletes in Uganda with a disability or without a disability. Am I hearing you correctly?
With and without a disability. Okay, not top 5, maybe top 10-ish. Because there's like lots of, in my age group in particular, I'm top 5. But overall, maybe top 10. And that's already unbelievable in my mind, because all these able-bodied swimmers should be then swimming twice as fast than me. But I'm actually swimming at their pace or even better. Yeah. So it's really amazing.
Husnah, we have so many individuals with disabilities who listen to this show and who are in that place of trying to figure out who they are. Everyone's at different places in their journey. So what advice would you give for people who maybe are not feeling as confident in their body as you are now? It sounds like you mentioned that swimming gave you a level of confidence. So what would you say to those individuals who are, still struggling and still figuring themselves out?
I want to tell them what my mom always did tell me growing up. Just ignore what those people are telling you. Because in school, people would look at me, point fingers, laugh, and it felt really, really uncomfortable. And it's a bunch of kids, so you can't really blame them. They don't know what they're doing. And then even it would get worse when the adults are also looking and pointing fingers, and it's like, you need to block out those voices, because otherwise they're just going to end up feeling bad for yourself, feeling pity for yourself, which is not what you want ever.
No.
You just have to believe in yourself, push away those voices, and have a goal and reach out for it, have a dream and reach out for it. And reach out for it as much as you can with lots of hard work, determination. And in terms of feeling confident in your own skin, of course, it's a journey. It's a journey that everyone goes through, whether it's able-bodied or disabled. It's just something about finding what makes you feel confident. For me, it was swimming. Swimming gave me the opportunity to express myself freely, to not feel the need to hide my hand, and to just be me. So whatever makes you feel happy, whatever you love doing and you want to pursue it for a long time, I'd advise you to go for it and have fun while you're at it.
We are so here for that and are so excited to amplify all parts of your journey. Husnah, you were the youngest Paralympian in Tokyo. Talk to us about what that was like, coming in as the youngest person at that Games.
Pre-COVID, after the World Championships in London, I was 12 years old. In my head, I was thinking, I'm the only Ugandan who is currently an active para-swimmer, so I'm definitely going to get the wild card. And I'm actually going to be at the Paralympics at the age of 13. That's already crazy in general for anyone to hear. I'm 13 years old, I'm just a teenager, and I'm ready for my first Paralympic Games. So in my head, I was like, that's history for Uganda, history for my country. and I can't wait to be able to do that. So then COVID comes up, everything is shut down. No one knew whether the Paralympics were going to happen or not, and then eventually they were postponed. In my head, I was thinking, do I really want to go forward with this? Because at the time it was kind of unsure, because I was training during the lockdown, but at home I'd go on runs, I would do land work with my coach and Zoom to try and keep up the fitness and be ready for when the pools open again. But then hearing that the games have been postponed, I was like, do I really need to keep fighting for this anymore? Like, is there anything much more fighting for? And then my mom came up and told me, she said, Husnah, there is a qualifying opportunity that's going to take place around March, and we need to go for that competition in order to see if we can try it. And at the time, my breaststroke time was far, far away from the qualification standard. So I thought to myself, okay, let's make that a mission. I made it a point to cut over 10 seconds from my 100 breaststroke time to make the qualification standard. So this is around September when the postponement of the games was announced. So of course, the rest of the month I was like, on and off. Should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Like, so then October starts and I'm like, it's time to lock in. I started doing land work almost every other day, and then there was a small swimming pool that was near our home. With no one wanted to get
And you had to make that on your own, right? Like, you had to drive that agreement. If you and your mom hadn't done that, this wouldn't have happened. Is that right?
Not at all. Wow. So like, it started just me and my mom going to that pool. Then eventually, but then we were still in contact with our coach. Then eventually our coach joined us there as well. But it was just single sessions at the time. So we'd go in the mornings from like 7 to 9. And then I would do dry land sessions in the evening to make up for not having a double session. So call up my heat, I'm behind the blocks standing there and thinking to myself, it's now or never. So I finished my swim down and I see my mom standing outside the pool holding my clothes, and she told me, Husnah, you went 1 minute and 36 seconds, which is actually 1 second faster than the minimum entry time. So I'm thinking to myself, no way, like, this is a dream come true. I have actually qualified on merit to the Paralympic Games, which is history not just for paraswimming in Uganda, but for swimming in general in Uganda. No one had ever qualified with an A standard time or a B standard time. I was the first ever swimmer to qualify for either Paralympic or Paralympic Games. For either Paralympic or Olympic Games. So that's history for Uganda, history for paraswimming, history for swimming in Uganda. And I was thinking to myself, that's amazing. And because it was the only event I made a minimum entry time in, it was the only one I qualified for in the Paralympic Games. So then, still, COVID was still on, so there was still lots of restrictions in the area. In Uganda, when the second wave happened, there was almost a mini lockdown. So my mom works for a government institution. So she got like an access pass to drive all around. So we would go to a hotel called Hotel Africana, which is actually a standard 25-meter pool in Uganda, and we'd go there every other day because she had that pass. But then it became almost challenging because my coach didn't really have that pass, and we wanted him to also be there. Yeah, because it would be almost a double journey, because we'd leave home, go pick our coach, and then go to the pool twice a day. So it became very challenging. So they agree. Then we moved to one of the apartments in the area where the pool was in the hotel, and we're there for about 2.5 months before the games.
Wow.
Yeah, and then as the time kept getting closer and closer and closer to the competition, I was thinking to myself, this is kind of crazy. I was just thinking of how crazy it was that I'm going to the Paralympic Games. I'm very fortunate to actually have qualified, because this would have been an entirely different story if I didn't. So yeah, that's how it was.
So cool. And now you've competed in 2 different Paralympics. You've made history for your country. What does it mean to you? I view you as such a leader within sports, within the context of Uganda, within the Paralympic movement. What would you say that leadership means to you? And what does that making history for your country mean to you?
Obviously, it meant a lot in terms of just my personal growth as an athlete, but also hope for all other people with disabilities in Uganda. Going into that event, I was thinking about the impact that I could make on lots of people with disabilities, even without disabilities in Uganda. on reaching out for their dreams as soon as they can, especially with lots of hard work and determination. So after those events, when I returned back to Uganda, I was warmly welcomed. The media was excited to have me, and I used every opportunity that I was given to talk about my story as a paraswimmer in Uganda, and also share a message of inspiration to all the other people with disabilities around the world, especially children who would love to discover what they can do and actually reach out for it and succeed.
So cool. Husnah, this is your story. This is your interview. What are the hopes that you have for the future? For your future, for parasport, for swimming? You can take that in whatever direction you want.
Well, for swimming, I wasn't able to accomplish one of my goals actually at the Paralympics, which was to make my first ever Paralympic final. I was devastated, but I managed to come out with 2 African records. So I guess that kind of evened out the bad things and the good things. So it was okay, but I was kind of devastated that I was unable to achieve that goal. So first and foremost is making that Paralympic final and reaching out for the Paralympic medal. For a Paralympic medal, first ever Paralympic swimming medal for my country. And that would be an amazing achievement to make and history to make for Uganda, as well as just personal achievement as a professional athlete. And as a disability advocate and as a parasport advocate in Uganda, my mom and I have started working on creating a foundation called the Husnah Kukundakwe Disability Sports Foundation to try and help people with disabilities, especially children, with their sports careers from the grassroots. My support wasn't the best. The government only started to recognize me later on in my career after my mom had always struggled to look for funds to take me for World Series, take me for World Championships. So it was very, very tough on my mom, and I wouldn't want anyone else to lose hope from the sport just because of something like finances. And yet you should be driven more by passion and not just be let down by. So hopefully that foundation can be some beacon of hope to people with disabilities who would love to take parasports as a career. But of course, it's just help from the grassroots, and then I guess someone else can take it up from there, or they can take it up for themselves from there as well. Also, just to mobilize people with disabilities in Uganda and remind them that they are important people in society. They can do whatever they put their mind to, and also show other community members that they should never neglect people like this. They should always provide them equal opportunities, give them the chance to try, because that's all you can really do for a person with a disability, is just give them the chance to try and let them show you that they can do it, and also prove to themselves that they can do it rather than already perceiving that they cannot do it. Those are the current future plans, and that's it for now. Maybe in the future, maybe more will come.
Those are such incredible future plans, goals, aspirations, things that you are doing already. I cannot wait to when the foundation comes out. What an important and so needed effort. I assume that's not live yet. Is that correct?
Not
the
sure.
Foundation?
It's still in the working.
Yeah,
for sure. I'll definitely reach out to lots of companies who would love to be a part of the movement. Even now, I wouldn't mind anyone contacting me via my Instagram and helping out with maybe advice on how to run the foundation, or even just help and support in general, because it's very difficult to start up something like that, especially in a country where disability is already badly perceived. So it's already difficult to find that mobility, to try and make people aware.
Close us out. We like to end with, what is one action you would like people to take after hearing your story? So what is one thing you would like our community members to do? It could be something like read this book. It could be, say this to your mom or your friend. What is the one thing you want people to actually do after hearing your story?
From my story, one thing I can say is never give up. Any opportunity can come up and you need to grasp it and do whatever you can to make it, whether it's major or minor, you need to give it your all. Even though I go for maybe smaller galas, I need to make sure that I'm actually doing whatever I can to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, if you don't put your heart and soul into something, then it's really not worth your time. So what I would encourage everyone to do is to actually take every single thing in their life seriously, because you never know where it could take you.
Absolutely love that advice. Couldn't agree more. Husnah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything that you're doing too. You are a beacon of light. I was actually at your Paris swimming competition. I was there in person cheering for you. You had a lot of fans there, so it's really wonderful to meet you in person.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was actually quite, it was quite crazy, these Paralympic Games, because it had spectators this time. In Tokyo, there were no spectators, so the only crowd I would hear was from my mom and my coach just screaming for me from up there. So this time, just hearing the whole arena like roaring it made my heart rate go way too high and very, very nervous, even when my race hadn't even started. So it was an interesting environment, I would say, but I loved it. I loved the energy in the arena, and it was very, very, very nice that you came to watch me.
Thanks for tuning in to Flame Bearers Unedited. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a positive review on your favorite podcasting platform or YouTube. If you want to see more behind the scenes coverage, follow us on social media, Instagram,